start the session on hands-on programming in Java. So what I understand from the discussion in the chat, right, is that there's a mixed set of audience here. Some are new to IntelliJ IDEA. Some are, some of you have been using IntelliJ for more than 5 years, for example, right? So a lot of, mixed audience here. So to make everyone benefit from the session, I will not be assuming anything and start from scratch, right? So as much as possible. So by the end of this session, what you will be benefiting is you'll be able to use Java more productively. You'll be able to develop much more faster and effective. So, and you'll be knowing specific, shortcuts and tips and techniques that you can use in your regular work. So let's get started. So first and foremost, I assume that you have installed IntelliJ IDEA Community Edition or EDU version, which is free and open source. So the link for downloading and installing IntelliJ IDEA is here. Oops, what did I do? I copied the wrong one. Give me a minute. Okay, this is what I need to copy. Yeah. So this is a link for downloading and installing IntelliJ IDEA. So go here and download, and in the download, select Community Edition, and you'll be able to install it and get it started. Okay, so I have already installed. So I have installed JetBrains Toolbox. So I'll be able to use any of these tools immediately. So right now I'm using Community Edition, which is free and open source. So all of us can do hands-on together, and that's the objective of this session, to do it together instead of me talking one way. All right. So when you see the welcome screen, right? So we directly often click from new project or open or import or get from version control. The first tip is try this fourth option, which is learn IntelliJ IDEA. When you select this option, you'll be taken into something very interesting. So you will be able to try out some of these shortcuts as indicated by IntelliJ IDEA. For example, comment out any line with command slash, right? And now you can see that my activity is done. So I have successfully completed this. And now uncommented the command line with the same shortcut. So in other words, I can go back again there and use the same shortcut again, and I will see that I have completed this task, right? So select several lines and do this and do it again. So in other words, this is a way to learn IntelliJ IDEA very effectively. Like you can have this, live prompts from IntelliJ IDEA for you to do something, and once you do it, IntelliJ IDEA gives you, some feedback on how you have done that. Right? That's awesome. And I found this very useful when I started learning IntelliJ IDEA. Okay, so when I do something like this, you see that what is the shortcuts I am using, right? So when you're doing along with me, this is very important because I am using Mac and many of you may be using Windows or Linux. So you can observe the key combination that I'm using here. For example, Control/ for Windows and Linux and command/ for Mac, right? So that is a shortcut that we need to use. So how am I getting this? So now the first shortcut I'm going to cover is double shift, which Sivaramakrishna and many of you already mentioned. So double shift is search anywhere or everything, right, inside the IDE. So what am I going to search for? I'm going to search for plugins. So select plugins. And you can see that what are the plugins that I have installed. So I have installed a plugin called Presentation Assistant. So the Presentation Assistant shows the name and the shortcuts of any action that we invoke. So this is the next thing. So you have learned the first shortcut, which is double shift. The next one is we have learned about a plugin called Presentation Assistant, which is very useful, especially when you're doing presentations, and show what are the shortcuts that you are using, right? Okay. So let us start a new project, right? Because I don't want to assume anything and start from scratch. And I am using JDK 15. Now, you may be in the older version. Typically, many of you will be in the older versions. So you can choose download SDK. Now, download the JDK, or if you have already installed it, add the JDK, right? So you'll be able to get the latest version. You can use any older version also, but I am using the latest version, which is 15. Now I'm choosing the option create the project from template, and once you select this, given merge intern, okay. So then you will get this window coming up for you, right? For you to ready to type the code. Now, first things first, we need to have some reference for the shortcuts that we are going to try. So what you can do is go to help and go to key map reference. When you select this key map reference, did I have to let anyone in? Okay. So when I select this key map reference, I'll be shown with this key map. And you can see that this is for Windows and Linux, and this is for Mac. And the next step is that take a printout of this sheet. Take a printout of this sheet and stick it out in your desk so that whenever your eyes are wandering, right, you can see the key map and you can refresh either those shortcuts or try out something new. And I find this to be very useful for me. Another option is to download it and save it in your desktop, so you can check it whenever it is needed. For now, for today's session, I request you to download this and keep it ready so that you can check with cross-check in case you miss out any of the shortcuts that we are discussing during the session, right? So okay, let's proceed further. Now I'm here in the main function, right? So let us write a simple code. Let us say hello, right? And one thing interesting about IntelliJ IDEA is that nobody is really a master, right? Including me. So there is always something new for everyone, even if one is an expert, who has been using IntelliJ IDEA for maybe, let's say, 10 years, right? So the first one is a light-hearted one. So I am doing Control Command Space and inserting an emoji. I bet nobody would have tried this before, right? So IntelliJ IDEA has very cool, very maybe silly some features. There are many interesting features that you will discover. Now let's tell hello in style and say lambda. Let's create a lambda, right? Now for this, I use something called postfix template. So what is a postfix template? So postfix template is something you do by putting dot after something. It could be a variable, it could be a function, it could be a a string in this case, etc. And you invoke some action, right? In this case, I am creating a lambda, right? Now, what is the way we create a variable? There are various ways to create a variable, right? The silly way is to type it like string something equal to, right? There are better ways than doing that, right? So the first way is to type var, which is a postfix template. And now IntelliJ IDEA asks you options. Are you telling that this hello smiley should become a variable, or do you want the whole lambda to become a variable? Let's say I want to become the whole lambda to become a variable, right? So now I have options that is coming up. I want it as a supplier, and what is the name that I want? Like a first lambda, let's say, right? So this first lambda is that's the name of my lambda, right? Now how do we call my lambda? So first lambda. So how do I type first lambda? I can just type first lambda, or I can do camel case, F and L. You can see how it is highlighted. So I can press enter, especially when you have a lot of options coming up, right? You can do that and say dot get. And how I'm going to do print of that? I'm not going to go back here and type system.out. Rather, I'm going to use a postfix template and type s.out. Sorry, s out. And now here it is, our first program that is working for us, right? Uh, so how many of you are coding with me? Type yes if you're coding with me. Only two of you? So, okay, how about others? Would like to code with me? So, download and install the IntelliJ IDEA Community Edition and follow this. It's not very complicated. So even if you don't know what's a Lambda, you can also just try and learn as well, right? Okay, so now I want to see how I can improve this code, right? One thing is there's an extra white space here, white line here, right? So how do I delete this white line? One way you can do is command delete, which is control Y, and you'll be able to delete the line, right? And then I see that there is unnecessary import statement that is over there. So what I could do is I could say control option O, and then the import statement gets automatically removed, right? Now, another way to do that is point on that unused import statement, do Alt Enter, and choose optimize imports, right? Third way to do that is Alt Enter and enable the settings optimize imports on the fly, right? Now let's see this in action. Okay, let me delete this code. Now do it again. What did I do? Okay, do it again, and you can see that the import statement automatically was removed, if you have observed, right? So this auto imports removal, unnecessary import removal, is a very useful facility to have. Now I'm noticing that I want to go back and to the project window. So how do I go to the project window? Right? There are various ways to do that. The shortcut is okay. There are many shortcuts that I wanted to cover. So first shortcut I wanted to cover is preferences. So how do you do the preferences? Command comma and you went to the preferences, right? And then command semicolon and you go to the project structure, right? You can, for example, you can change the JDK version, etc., right? And you press escape to go back, right? If you want to go to the project window, I can say command 1, which is alt 1 in Windows. So I can press enter and then I get the project structure, right? Otherwise, I press right arrow and I can go to the specific file and I can do enter, right? So okay. Now I hope you are following with me and are trying out the shortcuts. So any questions so far? No questions? Okay, so assuming that there are no questions and you're following up, right? So let us change the color theme, right? So control tick mark, back tick will help you change the color theme. For example, I can change to and see the preview there itself, and I can choose to change it, right? So and then I can go back again and change it as I want. I'll go back to my original mode. This is what I'm comfortable with, right? So you can try that. All right, let's come back here and close this. How do you close this window, right? Command W and I'll be able to close the window. And if I open it again, I can do like this. And I can increase the size here, right? Now let's get rid of this code and start with first things first. And try out very essential things, right? So what are those essential things? Like how do I open up a new line? So look at where I am. I'm in the line 4 and I want to type code in the line 5, right? And inside the main method with one tab. right? One poor way to do that will be to go like this and do enter. Sorry, uh, uh, do enter and do tab, right? It takes a lot of time for that. And another way to do that is code completion. Control Shift Enter, and it will take you to the next line ready for you to type the code. So give it a try. So at whatever may be the point, you can actually go back to your project window by pressing Command 1. And if you want to see your favorites, you can press Command 2. And you can actually create some bookmarks, if you would like to, create some bookmarks, right? Okay. Now, how do I move my control from the project window to my code? I can just press escape and the control comes back to my code here. How do I expand and collapse? So if I say command plus, command plus and command minus, control plus for Windows, right? I'll be able to expand and collapse my block. So give it a try. And another useful thing I always feel useful is selection. How do I select a word, right? So I can just do the extend selection, Control W, and I'll be able to expand it step by step. And now I want to delete it, I can delete it, right? Let me do it again. So point wherever you are, and you'll be able to select incrementally, right? For example, here, and I'll be able to select it incrementally, whichever the parts that I am focusing on, right? And if you want to, shrink the selection, I can do the same thing again, and I'll be able to shrink the selection, right? So this is also another productivity tip. So you'll be able to do things faster this way, right? Now, how do I delete a line? We already discussed about it. Command delete, Control Y, and you'll be able to delete a line, right? And undo it. And now let us say I'm copying it and creating another line. Now, Control C and Control V is very time consuming, right? So there's also other shortcuts for that. And you can use them as well. And I think one of the important shortcuts, I find it useful, is Shift Command V. Okay, now I copy it twice. Now if I say Shift Command V, I will see the history of my pastes, which is very useful because I can select whatever the code that I want and I can use it here, right? So let's go back here and select the code. Where am I missing something? Yeah. So select this and let's get rid of this. So any questions so far? Were you able to try at least one or two shortcuts? So which shortcuts did you try? Something new for you? Any of you? You tried collapse? Oh, you said tried all of them. Awesome, Avi Mishra. So are these new for you, or you have tried it before? Some of them. Okay, you want to see the history of copy again? And Avi Mishra, most of the things are new to me. Okay, yeah, great. Yeah, that means you're making best use of this session, right? Excellent. So Command V is to, let me undo things and take only, let's say, a few lines. Okay, one line, right? Now, admit, yeah. So if I say Command V, right? I'll be okay. Let me copy first, and then Command V, right? It will copy the one we have copied. But if you want to see the history of that, also do Shift Command V, which is Control Shift V for Windows and Linux, and you'll be able to see the history of your paste, your copies. So you can select them and you can use it. Right? So how do you use that? For example, I would say that this is my, okay, now what is the navigation that I'm using? So command right arrow, I'm going to the left, and command left arrow, I'm going to the right. And if you want to do, word by word, I can do alt right arrow, and so on. And now let I want to complete this sentence, right? I can do code completion. And now I want to introduce a variable. The another way to introduce a variable is to do alt enter and introduce a variable and give the variable name. So idea URL, right? Now idea URL dot, let's split it by, I don't know what to split it on, say backslash, and then create a stream out of it. And for each value in the stream, let's print out the value, right? Let's see if this works. Let's see if this works. Yeah, it worked. It is able to split it properly, right? Okay, so what are the things that you have seen so far? So some of the essential shortcuts that you'll be using regularly, right? That's what we have covered so far. Now, let us write a simple program, right? Let's say I want to read some input from command line, right? So I can say scanner, then I don't want to type the variable name again. Rather, what I could do is code completion, control space in Windows. Then it will automatically fill the variable name for you. And then I want to fill the new, but I don't want to type it again. So what I can do is control space, I can say new, and control space scanner, so system dot in, and control, and again code completion. So by this way, you will be able to, generate the code as you go by using code completion, automatic code completion. Now scanner dot next int, right? Now let's run this program. This program works. The only problem is this can fail because if you type something other than integer, let's say I get an exception. So I need to surround this code with something that is protecting it from the exception that is getting thrown, right? So how do I do this selection, right? What I can do is I can select this block, right? And then I can say command alt T, and I can surround it with an if condition, if else, try catch finally, etc. So here my interest is in try catch finally. And where is try catch finally? It is in the 8th position, right? Okay. It's in the 8th position, right? So if I do arrow, that's more time consuming. That is why you have these numbers here, 1, 2, etc., right? Or A, B, C, etc., right? So from here, when I am in the surround with, I can just say 8, and my code will be surrounded with try catch finally. Now let me edit this code slightly. Let's say I would say error input and int value, right? And I can say yes out. And finally, what I want to do, I want to close the scanner, right? But however, I cannot access scanner because it's inside the try block, right? So what I have to do is I have to go to scanner, do alt enter, split into declaration and assignment, right? Then what I have to do, I have to just move the line up. And now if you observe this, there's a tab space here, right? So I can automatically format the code and make sure everything is fine. Now I can, okay, I don't have to do this there. Scanner dot close, right? Now do the formatting again, and the code will automatically do it for you. But this is not enough because you have to initialize the variable scanner, right? Okay, now this should work. Let's see. If I type 10 now, I get an exception handled rather than the error happening, right? So the program crashing. Now let's undo it and do it the other way around, right? Instead of doing the surround with, I can also solve this in another way. So which is, I can use with try with resources, right? And to here and surround. Okay, somebody's joining. Yeah. So now in this case, surround with yeah, try catch 6, and I would say type an integer, right? So this is slightly better way because I'll be automatically closing this instead of more effort required in breaking it into 2 statements and moving it, etc. And I find alt enter to be a very interesting option because it helps simplify the code much further. Like I could merge the statements, I could actually replace it with try, expand it, etc. Right? For example, I could say alt enter and add Java doc for the main, right? So command line arguments. Okay, it's an error here. So let me fix the typo. Yeah. So in this way, I'll be able to do a lot of things that I won't do it manually by doing alt enter. So this context actions for initiating the action, right, is something that is very powerful, that I find it to be very useful. So so the top keyboard shortcuts that I'm recommending, I'm also typing it out here. The first one is of course double shift plus shift, which is search anything. And the second very powerful option is alt enter. So context actions, right? So that makes it very powerful, right? Now what I'm doing is I'm going to delete this code and go to the next big shortcut. So what is the next big shortcut? So let us write a small code ourselves. So let's say class pollutant, right? So what is the pollutants that we are talking about? So string pollutant name, the min value, maybe the max value, and the average for today, and string location, right? Or make it date time. So I can say dt, date time. Okay, local date time, local date time, or local date. Yeah, local date, and create the variable, right? Now I get an error because it has to be in the package. Now I can make it public. Now you get another error. Let's make the file name the pollutant, right? Now I have created this class. I don't have to create all the boilerplate code from scratch. So what I can do is generate the code, right? So what is the shortcut for generating the code? I think it is somewhere here. Alt insert in Windows, right? So command N in Mac. So select this and you'll be able to create the constructor. Let me create a default constructor. Then let me create getters and setters for them, all of them. And then let us create the equals and hash code, right? So that's quite a bit of code. Let us create the toString method as well. And finally, the main method. So for creating the main method, you can either type main or we can type PSVM and you'll be able to create the main method. And let us create, this is pollutant, right? Pollutant equal to new pollutant, and let's create the values. So which is PS1, comma, the min is 12, maximum is something like this, and average is 123, and the city is Bangalore. Of course, it's very bad pollution here. And complete the sentence. Did we miss something? Local date and time. Sorry. Uh, Local date and no. Right. So we created this pollutant and pollutant dot south p, and we'll be able to generate the most of the code. Okay, let's edit the configuration and give the name as pollutant, and we should be good to go. Right, so all the boilerplate code we automatically generated, right? Including the Java docs comments, we can actually create and constructor comment, everything you can actually create the Java doc. How about copyright, right? That also you can create the copyright. Go to the settings. Do you already have copyright profiles? I don't have. No problem. Add the profile, demo profile. Let's create a demo profile, and it'll automatically pre-fill it for you. You can edit it as needed, and we have to set the profile. I forgot to set the profile. Let's make this as the default profile, and did I put this as the default profile? No, I didn't put that as a default profile. Yes, I set it as a default profile, and now I have the copyright also. Now let's publish it in the gist. So again, double shift and type as gist. So gist is like a very short one file program that you can publish into Git repo. And so simple pollutant class example generated through command sn in IntelliJ IDEA. And so give enter, and here you go, the gist is created for you. So any code that you have created, you can create a gist and paste the link here. Any of you try and generate a gist and paste it here? I don't know how many were following, but I hope some of you are able to follow. And I will take up any questions so far. So which are the shortcuts you tried? Which one worked? Which one didn't work? Which one you need help? Okay, so comment, copyright, Java docs. Awesome. Awesome, Chakra. So would you like to share your gist as well if you're able to publish it by any chance? Any just some gist, just for demo purposes, to see how easy it is to, put the code into Git repo or create gist, etc. It's very straightforward to do all of them. And if time permits, that's what we will do, and see if we can put this as a Git repo and share them. So anything else? Any of you tried anything else? Would you like to share? Or should I go further?
Can you explain gist again? So I missed that.
Okay, so gist is from GitHub. So I don't know what's the technical description of gist. We use Git repos and things like that, right? You don't really often know what is the technical description of that. Yeah. So gist is used for instantly sharing code, notes, snippets, etc. It's not a full-fledged repository, but quick code segments that you can share for others. For example, if you want to share some code segment, right, I just created this code. So if you want to try it out yourself, you can try it on your own. So I was able to create this example and share the link to you, right? So that's the benefit of gists. So you'll be able to create something quickly and share that knowledge with others. So is it okay, Chakra?
Can you do it again? Like how it is linking to your Git profile? That instant code.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think I have already linked my profile uh, to Gist, I think. So let me see my
Okay.
plugins and preferences. No, it's not the plugins, it's preferences. So uh,
No, it asks
so
you for the your login name, password, and then
yeah, once you give the login and password, once you give it, it'll automatically remember that, and it
Okay.
will be able to you'll be able to create the gist.
Okay. So it
So
will create a path in your GitHub, right?
yeah, 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 it'll automatically create it for you.
Okay. Yeah, I got it.
So were you able to create one gist?
Actually, my Git it's not connected with IntelliJ. I'm
Okay,
not a
okay, okay. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Maybe it'll take some more time, and
Yes,
you'll be able to, create it.
I will do it after this.
All right. So let us remove this again and create another class. So what will we call this? Let's say tokenizer, right? So in this tokenizer, okay, we have to create the package. So let's do main, and we are going to do some, iterations, or let's call this as templates. Let's create some templates. Okay, so what are the templates you're going to create? So there's some basic templates that all of you have to try it out, and you don't know what should do, right? And how do you invoke the template? You can just say Control J, and you will know lot of templates that are coming up. The very simple one is uh, system out, system.format, etc. For example, I could say percentage %t10, right? So that is very simple templates. Okay, I have to change the settings again, and change this to templates, right? Okay, give me a minute. Change this to, rename the file, go to the profile and change it to template. All right, we are good to go. So these are the very trivial or very simple templates, right? Now Control J, and you'll be able to see what are the templates that you can use for your regular work. Now the simplest of the templates is a for I, right? For I equal to 0, I is less than, let's say 10, sum plus equal to I, right? Now the sum is not declared, right? So I can actually create a local variable named sun. But this is a local variable. I want to use it later. For example, sum dot print. I cannot do that, right? I want to move it up. So I can split it into declaration and assignment, and I can move it up and change it. And now I'll be able to access sum dot value, right? Wait a minute. It's not initialized. Okay, initialize the value. So you'll be able to run this program now, right? So you can also do transformations on these loops. So point on the loop and do Alt Enter, and you can do the reverse direction. You can unroll the loop, I mean, this is not recommended because it's for maybe sometimes in rare cases for performance purposes you want to do that. Then you can replace it with a while loop, etc. So a lot of transformations are possible. You can actually convert many of these loops into lambdas or stream-based loops in internal iteration, which we'll cover in a bit of a minute. Okay. Now let us create some values for us to play with, right? So follow your heart, but take your head with you, right? Some saying, something silly. Now let's create a variable and saying, and let us tokenize this and traverse over it, right? So saying dot split. So split it by white space. Split it by white space. Famous. So split it and then create a local variable which will be strings, right? Now, how do I traverse strings? I can actually see what are the options available, right? I can say iterate elements of an array. You can see here, this you have an array, right? So also there's an option for iterating over array just by typing I. So I can just type I, and what is that I'm traversing? String, st. String, yes, is strings, and s dot s out. So this should traverse the array. We made some mistake here. Okay. So we're able to split the word and we're able to traverse over it. Now let's try one more different shortcut. So we can actually iterate it as an collection, right? So what is a collection here? So here we have strings dot as list. Okay, arrays dot as list should be able to do it, right? Yep. So did I miss something here? Oh, I'm not printing anything. Sorry. Next dot s out. Right. So in this way you'll be able to traverse as an iterator. You can make some simple improvements like this. You can also replace it with the for each, as in the lambdas in streams. So which becomes short and sweet, arrays as list strings, and for each you pass the consumer println. Right? So there are many such very interesting templates available which you can try it out. So my favorite is something known as IT tokenizer, right? So this is a very a roundabout way of tokenizing, right? If you want to do proper tokenization, so how do you do that? So I can say IT tokenizer, and what are you going to say? Saying, and in this saying, what are you going to do? You want to go into split, and I can pass a regular expression here, right? So I can pass a space, I can pass whatever I want, and I'll be able to get my string. But here, by default itself, we should be able to tokenize it, right? So I can say yes dot s out, and I'll be able to tokenize the string. Right? I can pass more delimiters, which I'm not doing it right now. So how do I know what to pass? Right? I can say command P, and I can see the parameters that it takes. It passes a string and it passes a delimiter. So I could say, for example, space and comma and see if this works. Yeah, you can see that the comma is gone now because that became a delimiter. And I can also use exclamation mark as my delimiter. And you can see that that's also gone now. And I have a proper tokenization, right? So like this, right, there are a lot of very interesting templates. And one of the interesting features of templates is that you can create your own templates. It's very easy to create some templates, right? So let us take another example. Let me, select this whole code and delete it and talk about some very simple, templates that you can try out. So if, for example, I can say if n and check for if the value is null. I mean, of course, argument cannot be null, but this gives an example of how do we check for that. How do I check if something is not null, right? If nn, inn, it will create a not null check for you, which is quite fast, right? You can do it for a variable also. For example, you can say args dot inn, args dot okay, we are not supposed to get the not null, sorry, not null, right? Args dot nn, and you'll be able to get the value again. I mean the template again. So that there are two things. That is one is known as prefix templates, and another one is postfix templates, right? Now, if you observe here, I have only the if condition, which actually expands to this. But let's say I want to expand a template like this, right? Let us create the template for us. So how do I create a template? I can check for, let's say, inn and go for rs out c and look out for the live templates. Go here and we should be in the live templates for Java, right? And take out the code that you already have for, let's say, if null, not null, right? Take that code and create a new template. Insert a new live template and give a name. So if block, I want ifb, if block. If condition with a block. And what will be my if condition with a block? I want an if condition for the variable and end it here. My objective is I should have this curly braces also coming in, and my control should come first to this part in the if condition, and then when I press enter, it should come here, right? And I have to define my context where this template is applicable. So I could say, for example, Java is my context, and in that I don't want this for the declaration, expression, etc. I want it for statement, and I can say apply. Now if I say if b, magically get this condition check. I mean the curly braced one coming for you. Args is not equal to null, and args dot length is not equal to 0, right? Let's say this is what we want to do. That actually we can also do it as a live template. So if b, that is it. Let's see, go to live templates. Let's modify this if null check, right, into something else. So if null or empty, ifne, that's the thing that we are doing here, and say that this is the condition that we want, right? So this is not equal to null, and this var dot length is not equal to 0. I take this here and put this here. For args, it doesn't make sense, but I'm just giving an example of where to use this, right? So this is a proper code now, right? Let me create a bracket here just to be double sure. Properly structured code, right? Now it is fine. Now the value I have given is if not empty. If condition block, checking for not null and not empty. Checking a string for not null and for not empty, right? Now let's come here. If null and entry, I can say args and args at length. I enter here and my control comes here properly, right? I find this ability to create templates to be extremely powerful because many of the repetitive tasks in our programming, like for example, logging statements or calling a framework code, many of this becomes repetitive and we keep typing them again and again, right? So if you create templates for them, then we will be able to, do those repetitive tasks much faster. Okay, so with that, I will, I will, open for any questions till now. Any questions you had? Were you able to create a live template? Were you able to try out any shortcuts? Any questions so far? Oh, okay, Chakra, awesome. So which live template you created? Chakra, are you there? Oh, the same I have given as an example. Awesome, great. So you like this example, like how you can, create live templates and simplify your tasks?
Yeah, we can. I got an idea. Like if you are doing something repeatedly in project, we can make use of this live template. So it will save some time while coding.
Okay. So which live template you created? The if null check or with the
The
block?
second, the if null check, the first one you have shown.
Okay,
Argument,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, awesome. So, you have been using IntelliJ IDEA before, or this is the first time?
No, I am using it since last 4 or 5 months.
Okay. But
Yeah.
have you tried any of this before, or this is the first time you're trying it?
No, this one I'm first time I'm trying, but yeah, I didn't know this thing. It is possible with IntelliJ. This is a new
Okay.
thing for me. Yeah,
Okay. So
I
do you
only
think? Yeah, go
I
ahead.
was I was more using this double shift, so and Control J, but these things I didn't know. It is helping me. Yeah,
Okay, awesome. That means you found this session to be very useful so far.
yeah. So far, yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay, now let us try out some further examples. Okay, I'm going to delete this code and try something more difficult. Like for example, surround with callable. So what's a callable? Callable is a code that you can do some long running or computationally intensive task, and then you instead of waiting for the task to complete, you leave it to the execution service to execute the task, and once it is ready, the return value will come to you. That's a future object that you get, right? So how do you create a callable? So you can say command J surround with callable, and you can give the value, right? I mean the expression here. So what is it we can give here? Let's give a simple example. So for I, let's say I want I from let's say value okay 0 to 1 lakh, right? 0 to 1 lakh, sum the value of I, just to give a computationally intensive task. Okay, complete the semicolon, and I am actually having to create that local variable, and I cannot use this here because it's a local variable. I have to pull it out. So let me actually declaration and assignment and move this up. What did I do? Up, yeah, and change the formatting, and you can see that I have to return something, the object, right? So I can add a return statement. What is the return I'm doing? Sum, right? So let's remove this extra line. And why am I getting the error? Initialize the value sum, of course, yes. Now it's all working, right? Now I created the callable object. Now how do I consume this callable object, right? So I have to create a executor service. Executors dot new single thread executor, and in that what should I do? I should submit a task, and the submittable task is the callable, right? And once I call the callable, I should get the value and I should print it, right? And there's an exception that can get thrown, so I have to add exception to the signature, right? And you can see that it has executed it successfully, right? But you can see that it's still running. Why? Because we created a single thread executor, we didn't stop it, right? So now how do I stop this executor? That means I have to extract it as a variable. Now how do I extract it as a variable? Now let me select this code, right? Let me extract it. How do I extract it? Through refactoring option. So Alt Control V to select that code, right? So I can say single thread executor. I got a single thread executor, and what should I do? A single thread executor, I should close, right? Shut down. Yep. Now let us see if it does properly. Yes, after execution, it shuts down properly, right? So this is the benefit of generating the code, because you can do it very fast, right? I mean, imagine doing this all by yourself. You have to remember what is the return type, what is the proper signature of the call method, and everything, right? And you can see that this is grayed out. Any of you suggest how do you simplify this code? So, okay, let me do this for you. Replace with the lambda. The lambda is much more effective, right? And I can do further things. For example, I can select this and extract a method reference, and I could say sum of n. So I selected the sum of n, and I have extracted this as a method reference. Now there are further things to extract because this I have hard coded, right? Now I can actually select this and extract a parameter out of it. What is the parameter name? N. Till n, I want to summarize it. Okay, the challenge is, I think it's a method reference. That's why it's causing problem. Let me see. Let me select this, and parameter is n, sum of n. Okay, method is using reference. Convert to lambda expression. At the time, absolutely fine. Yeah. The reason why it was giving an complaint, because I was using a method reference. When you have method reference, you cannot have an argument passed to the parameter, right? That's why you get an error. But now I was able to extract it. Now let's run this program. The program remains the same. So I was able to extract a parameter, right? And in this code, we still have this constant, running around. So what I could do is I can extract a constant, right? So I have extracted a constant here, and it became a field here. And yeah, with that, we were able to do some, simple refactorings. So the refactorings that we did were extract a method reference, extract a parameter, extract a field, and extract a constant, right? I think we did an extract of a variable and extract of the field. And often many of you actually find it difficult to remember what was the the code that you were trying out. I mean, what is shortcut that you have to use, right? So let's say, for example, this I can do command T, right? 1 minute. Control T, and we should be able to refactor this, right? So if you want to select, for example, inline it, we can do Control T, and we can choose the inline option, right? So you are able to undo it. So you don't have to remember all of this. The only thing you have to remember is this option, which is Control T. So Control Alt Shift T for Windows Linux. I know it's a longer one, but that's a very powerful option. So Control Alt Shift T. So let me type this out. Plus Alt plus Shift plus T, and this is for refactor this. When you do this, it's a very powerful, a shortcut. Another very important short to remember is Command plus J. And in Windows, let me actually get it for you. Command J, which is Control J for insert a live template. J, which is for insert a live template. Okay. These are really, really powerful shortcuts that can actually dramatically increase your productivity. So another one that I wanted to add as a very powerful one is this generate, and this is Alt plus insert. Insert in Windows, which is generate. Right. So depending on the context, you can generate constructors. You can generate classes, copyright, all of that, depending on the context. Right. So these are very powerful shortcuts. I will share this as a comment so that you'll be able to use these shortcuts in your and remember them. So any questions so far? No questions? All good? Okay. Okay, that's awesome, Kempana. I'm really happy that you liked some of the examples that I have shown. Okay. All right. So let's take another example. You may be wondering, all this is well and good. What good it can do for my regular work? Can I actually simplify my regular work with the whatever that is being covered, right? So the answer is yes, absolutely yes. So it can completely simplify your regular work. Now let us see a programming example of how you can actually simplify your regular tasks, right? Now let me create a task name, which will be, for example, create Excel. CSV. Not really a very attractive name, but I think it is fine for this purposes. So let me go and edit the configuration and save this as create CSV. That's my configuration, right? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to traverse over the locales, and I'm going to generate a CSV file for those locales. So what is a locale? Locale identifies a country, language, and region, right? So locale. So if I go to locale, how do I get the documentation for locale? So press function F1, and you will have the documentation popping up. And you can see that a locale represents a specific geographical, political, or cultural area, right? For example, in India, Karnataka is a specific locale. You have Karnataka as a locale, Kannada as the language, and India as the region, right? That's what a locale represents. And there are hundreds of locales out there. So the locale package, I think it's not locale package. I think it's in the utility, right? Yeah, the locale class abstracts this locale functionality, right? Now let's create a locale. And what will be the locale? For example, it could be locale. We'll ask IntelliJ IDEA, what are the locales that are out there? There are so many locales out there. You can see that, right? Let's create Korean as an example, right? We got a locale information. Now I can get some simple information about locale. Let me print that details of the locale. I'll just print it out. It's okay. get started, right? Before we get into CSV details of that, right? It's a very simple description of what is this Korean KO, right? But locale has a lot of rich information. For example, we just saw that in the locale, the key information in the locale are the language, script, country, and the variant, right? Let's get all of them. Locale dot get display language. So I want to display the language. Then I want to duplicate the line. How do I duplicate the line? Command D and I'll be able to duplicate the line, right? Now I want to change this. Now this is a very interesting technique, right? Now if I select something like this and say display country, and you'll see that I get a syntactically improper code, right? Like what I want is when I press a dot here, I want, when I set something else, I want it to be, the integer here to be replacing the existing code instead of adding that code, right? For that, you have to press a tab. And like magic, it will replace the existing code for you with the what you have selected, right? So duplicate it and then say get script, display script. What were they? Actually, I keep forgetting. Just give me a minute. Are we in locale? Yeah, language, script, country, and variant. Okay, this is good. And let's see this. And dot get display variant. Get display variant. I typed DV because it's camel casing, right? Get D and V, which is display and variant. So with that, I'll be able to get all the 4 details. Okay, in this case, in the Korean, it doesn't have all the variations like display country, script, etc. Let's type Germany, for example. Let's see if that has all the details just for explanation. Okay, German and Germany, this information is there. So locales doesn't always have all the information associated with it. Let's try Tamil. Okay, Taiwan is there, Italian is there. Okay, let's try this. Okay, I'm doing enter here. I should not do Taiwan and should press tab. So it get replaced. Let's try if Taiwan has enough information. Chinese language and the country is Taiwan. So script and variant is not there. That's fine. So, okay, now with this insight of what a locale has, let's try to pump it into a CSV file so that we can examine it or use it later. Now, how do we create a CSV file? First, I have to have a file for that, right? So I can give my file name. What is my file name? Locales.csv, right? So I got my locales. I want to give it a semicolon now. I want to complete this properly, right? I completed it. Now, what I want to do with this, I want to create a local variable. And what is the variable? It's a file name or locale file, right? And my locale file is not this, but it's a new locale, right? So I got a new locale now. New file now. File now. I got a new file. And I want to use this file to write it into a print stream, right? So I need a print writer. So PW, print writer, get the help from Vintage Idea, print writer equal to new print writer. And what is the print writer write into? Locale file. And complete a semicolon. Now you get a exception signature added. Okay, now I don't have to go to the end to go to the next line. I can say go to the next line for me, complete the current statement, right? Now let me do again and surround with the type resources statement so that I can automatically close this once it is done. Now what am I doing here? I want to get all the locales and print those values into a CSV file. right? So how do we get the locales? So locale dot get available locales, right? So what do I get? I get a list of available locales. I convert it to a stream. I get into a stream, and then for each entry in the stream, for my given locale, what do I want to do? I want to process that each locale, right? So I wanted to locale dot get display country plus comma, because I'm creating a comma separated value, right? So locale dot get display script. Let's stop here and see if you're able to get this inserted, right? Now I have to write it to the print writer. So print writer dot println and pass this into as an argument and complete the statement. Let's get rid of this documentation. I'm not able to remove the documentation. I don't know. Okay, fine. So, okay, let's print this and we should be able to write this into the. Okay, this I don't need, so I get rid of that. Right? Are you good? Are you with me so far? So I've created a small code for writing a set of details, the display country and display script of locales into a file called locales.csv. Now let me run this program and see if everything is fine. If everything is fine, I should get to a project and see the value, right? How do I go to the project? You remember command 1, go there and see if the locale CSV is there. Yes, of course it is there. You can see that it got created, right? Now coming back here, so you can observe that how my programming got simplified. I was able to do it much faster, right? By doing programming in this way, by generating the code as we go, right? So the typical way how we write this program, I'll tell you the wrong way to do that, will be to type, for example, file locale file equal to new file locales.csv, then go there and give a semicolon, and then say try with resources, print writer equal to new print writer of locale file. And then in this locale file, we say arrays.stream. So in other words, we are typing as if it already exists in the code, which makes us slow, right? And programming process don't work like that, right? We think, okay, I want a file. What is the name of my file? It's locales.csv. And what I want to do with this locale CSV? I want to create a variable, right? And what is that variable? It's actually a variable called file name. And what is the type of this file? It's actually a file type. So I should say new file, right? This is how our programming process works. And fortunately, what happens is IntelliJ IDEA also follows the same idea, and you'll be able to do postfix templates, automatic, code completion and things like that coming into picture, and you'll be able to generate the code much more faster than your normal programming process, right? So with that, we are almost close to the end. Any questions so far? So how many of you are able to follow me? Any questions? Any comments? Okay, thank you, Chakra. You are very engaged. Really glad for that. So how I got to the documentation? Yeah. So how I got to the documentation is you point anything. For example, file not found exception. F1. F1 is our help, right? So that is our documentation. So we can get this documentation, right? So often you may not find this to be useful to go to the documentation. So you can do Command B, Control B for Windows, and you can go and see the file and the code itself. And once you're done, you can say Command W, you can close that file and come back to your original place. Okay, yeah, that was a nice question, Kempana. So any other questions that you have?
I have a question. Hello.
Tell me, Chakra. Yeah.
Yeah, like if I'm opening two instances of IntelliJ ID, I want to switch between two instances of this IntelliJ ID. So how can I do that?
So two instances of IntelliJ IDEA, you can do it with your normal operating system based switching.
Okay,
Like
just okay, command tab.
yeah, I'm using command tab for this. You're using which OS, Chakra?
Mac.
Yeah, okay, Mac. So in that case, it will work. In fact, the same thing will work even if you are having for tabs also. For example, I am in locales.csv, right? So control tab, it will take me to the next tab. And command tab will take me to the next application. So control tab, command tab.
Yeah. And is there any, like, I want to split that code screen, like now there is a project view and there is a code view. I want to see, like, suppose two classes I want to see. I want to split in middle.
Yeah, it is there. Windows split. Editor tabs, split vertically and split horizontally. So you'll be able to split it.
Okay.
So split horizontally. Yeah. So this is how we can split. And once you're done, you can also close it. And if you want to come back to them, you can say Command E and you'll be able to get to our original code very fast. And the project window and bigger size. So whatever you want, you can be able to do faster navigation. So that is another one, Command E. That is actually recent files is something very useful. I mean, that doesn't qualify for the top 5, keyboard shortcuts ever, but I think still it's a useful one. So Command plus E. What is the one for Control E in Windows?
Ganesh, how about F2?
F2. F2 is renaming or what was that for? Renaming, right? Oh, highlight the error. Okay, yeah. So if you go to the next error, you can do.
This is one thing which is kind of handy, like which allows you to flow through whatever the errors are and then fix it one by one.
Okay. That's when you find it useful. Excellent. So I find F6 to be useful. F6 is for renaming. So you can rename anything. For example, you can go to a file and say F6, and you'll be able to. Okay, so Shift F6, rename, and say locales file.csv, whatever. So I'll be able to rename faster. So moving is also F6, and Shift F6 is rename. So that I find it to be very very handy and useful, and I can use it for the files. I can use it for anything that I have. For example, I can rename a class. So I don't like this file name. I could change it as a CSV file, and all the places where the CSV file used will get replaced automatically instead of manually replacing them. So and another set of key takeaways, right? So this is recent use, right? So another set of cool things that I always find it to be very useful is this refactoring options, right? So Control Alt V. This is for all for Windows, because most of you will be using Windows. Is for variable, right? Extract variable, and the same thing for method. And so I can remove this. So it becomes very obvious what I'm talking about, right? So you can use this for constant. And you can use it for parameter. And N for inline, right? So, this sequence is very useful because, once you remember Control Alt, right, you'll be able to automatically remember, am I extracting a variable? Am I extracting a method? class, etc. I think there is one big advantage over Eclipse. I'm not bashing or anything. Okay, I just found this to be much more convenient because I'm more, this shortcuts are much more intuitive here, than Eclipse or in other IDEs. So that's one big advantage of that user friendliness or ergonomic nature of the IDEs that we have here. So yeah, with that, I think we're coming to an end of this session. So I'll give some resources for you. So what we can do for learning more is we can go to this help and look at the demos and screencasts. So this is a YouTube video TV for IntelliJ IDEA, and you have a lot of videos available. I will share this link as well here, so you can try it out. Then another one is I'm going to share my book for free. So which is conf.me/jbook, Java book, I think. I think it is Java book. 1 minute, conf.me/j. I think this is the one. Yeah, JBook. So which is the OCP 8 certification exam book. You can try it out. It was once a bestseller for certifications worldwide. So I'm sure you will find this useful. So co-authored with Harikiran and Tushar. So, and we also have a YouTube channel that you can try it out, right? So yeah, that's it. And shortcuts, tips, resources for Android Studio or Kotlin. So whatever the shortcuts and tips and resources, right? I mean, they are applicable whatever we have covered here, right? So because Android Studio is same as IntelliJ IDEA. So whatever the shortcuts we have covered here will be applicable there. But I am not an Android developer, and so I cannot comment on it. And IntelliJ IDEA is used for Kotlin development as well. So the same shortcuts, whatever you have covered here, should work for Kotlin as well. So so thanks for the nice question, Avi Mishra. So any other questions? I'm getting a lot of good questions. Really happy for that.
Yeah, I have a question like IntelliJ, it's developed by JetBrains, and Kotlin also it is developed by JetBrains. So by default, does that Kotlin does that IntelliJ IDEA supports Kotlin, or we have to add some plugins?
I think you have to add a plugin, but I think the plugin gets automatically installed. I don't remember that very well. I'm not a Kotlin developer, okay. By the way. So plugins, if you see plugins, you will see that Kotlin is automatically installed. I don't remember installing it manually. So I think it comes automatically installed, support for that. But it's only a matter of adding Kotlin even if you don't have that, right? I mean, just go to plugins and add Kotlin and you'll be good to get started.
Thank you.
So yeah, that was awesome. Okay, Avi Mishra, yeah, got it. That's why I asked specific. But I'm sorry, I'm not a Kotlin developer or a Android developer, so I may not have given you a very good answer for yours. So team, any other questions? So Nagendra, thank you for joining. So I think you're extensive user of IntelliJ IDEA. Not sure how much you would have got from the session.
No, I think I love the way you present.
Oh, that's so nice of you. Thank you, Nagendra. So Sivarama, you have been using for a long time, right? Did you find anything useful in the session?
Yes, Ganesh. Yeah, thank you. A couple of things with respect to refactoring things. Yes.
Awesome. So anything else? If it's nothing else, we can close the session. It's exactly 5:30, and I'm handing over to Akshay. And we'll stop the recording.